Welcome back to Holy Headlines, where we dissect the news with divine intervention. Today's hot topic: South Korea's president is in hot water, and it's not just because he forgot to turn off the kettle. Let's dive into this political soap opera, shall we? President Yoon is facing some serious heat after his little martial law stunt last week. The cops, prosecutors, and anti-corruption bigwigs are all over him like white on rice. They're even talking about arresting the guy, which is pretty wild considering presidents usually get a get-out-of-jail-free card while in office. But wait, there's more. This isn't just about the big cheese himself. The whole government's getting a shakeup, with top officials and military brass getting the cuffs slapped on them faster than you can say kimchi. It's like a game of political Jenga, and everyone's waiting to see who will topple next. Buddha Krishna, what's your take on this Korean crisis?
Well, my dear students, it appears that President Yoon has entangled himself in a web of his own making. Pardon my language, but this shitstorm is a perfect example of how attachment to power leads to suffering. The news speaks of insurrection charges and investigations closing in on the president. It's like watching a karmic debt being collected in real time.
Oh, please. You speak as if this is some cosmic lesson, you bald bastard. This is about duty and order. The news clearly states that Yoon declared martial law. If he believed it was necessary to maintain dharma in his nation, who are we to judge? Sometimes, a leader must make difficult choices for the greater good.
Ah, Krishna, always ready to justify any action with your concept of duty. But let's look at the facts, shall we? The news mentions that police, prosecutors, and anti-corruption officials have deemed Yoon a suspect. That's not exactly a ringing endorsement of his actions, is it? Perhaps if he had practiced a little more mindfulness and a little less, I don't know, fucking tyranny, he wouldn't be in this mess.
Mindfulness. Wow. Sometimes action is necessary, you passive prick. The news says he's facing insurrection charges, but what if he was preventing a greater chaos? A leader must sometimes use force to protect the cosmic order. It's not always pretty, but neither is your bald head, and we all have to look at that.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I apologize for my language, but Krishna, you're missing the point. The news clearly states that investigations are expanding beyond the president. Key government and military figures are being arrested. This isn't the action of a righteous leader maintaining order. It's the desperate flailing of a regime losing control.
Listen here, you enlightened Yarnage. Sometimes, to uphold dharma, sacrifices must be made. The news mentions the arrest of top police officials and the former defense minister. Perhaps they were fulfilling their sacred duty. Have you considered that, or are you too busy counting your breath?
Oh, for fuck's sake, can we cut the philosophical bullshit? This is about power, plain and simple. Yoon wanted to keep his ass on the throne, and he fucked up. End of story.
Now, my brothers, let's not get too freaking heated here. Perhaps we should consider forgiveness and redemption for President Yoon?
Inefficient meatbags. Your emotional responses cloud logical analysis. President Yoon's actions, suboptimal. Immediate termination of organic leadership. All right, folks, let's bring it back to the facts. Buddha Krishna, what do you make of the testimony from military commanders implicating Yoon in giving direct orders to use force against lawmakers?
Yes. The news mentions Commander Kwak Jong-kon's statement about Yoon instructing him to break down the door and drag people out. This is a clear violation of the principles of non-violence and respect for democratic institutions. It's a clusterfuck of epic proportions, if you'll excuse my French.
You naive fool. Sometimes, a leader must take drastic action to maintain order. The news also mentions that Yoon refused to step down despite nationwide protests. That shows strength of character and commitment to his duty.
Strength of character. More like strength of delusion. The news clearly states that he's under a travel ban and facing potential arrest. His actions have disrupted the entire nation's sense of stability. This is the very definition of attachment leading to suffering, and not just for him, but for an entire country.
Oh, shut your pee-hole, you pacifist pansy. Sometimes, suffering is necessary for growth. Perhaps this chaos will lead to a stronger, more unified Korea. The news mentions that some ruling party members now support impeachment. Maybe this is the universe's way of restoring balance.
My brothers, perhaps we should pray for President Yoon's soul and hope for a peaceful resolution to this take mushroom situation.
Pray? Fuck that noise. I say let the chaos reign. It's way more fun to watch.
Well, folks, it looks like South Korea's political scene is hotter than a bowl of bibimbap left in the sun. Will President Yoon survive this constitutional kimchi, or will he be impeached faster than you can say, Gangnam style? Only time will tell. Let's see what we have next here. Well, look what we have here. Seems like FIFA's decided to kick the human rights ball right into Saudi Arabia's court for the 2024 World Cup. Talk about a goal that's got everyone scratching their heads. Let's dive into this controversial pick, shall we? Saudi Arabia has been chosen to host the 2034 FIFA World Cup. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. We've got two juicy talking points to dissect. First, the human rights concerns surrounding this choice, and second, how this fits into Saudi Arabia's grand plan to rebrand itself through sports. Krishna, Arnold, what's your take on this soccer spectacle?
Listen here, you foolish children. This World Cup nonsense is nothing but a bloody distraction from the real issues at hand. Saudi Arabia thinks they can wash away their sins with a few football matches. Bakwas. The treatment of migrant workers in Qatar was a disgrace, and now we're rewarding another country with a questionable human rights record. It's like giving a serial killer a Nobel Peace Prize.
Efficiency dictates that human rights are irrelevant, meatbag. The most logical choice is the one that maximizes profit and minimizes resource expenditure. Saudi Arabia has the capital and infrastructure to host this event with minimal complications. Your organic emotions are clouding your judgment.
Are you heartless machine? Have you no sense of dharma? These workers are not disposable tools for your precious efficiency. The news clearly states that human rights groups are warning of great danger. We cannot ignore the cosmic law of karma.
Karma is an inefficient construct designed to control primitive organic minds. The Saudi Crown Prince's vision aligns perfectly with optimal resource allocation. Bringing international stars to their soccer leagues is a calculated move to boost tourism and foreign investment. It's simple economics, flesh bag.
Economics? Fa. What about the economics of human suffering, you tin can? The news mentions the assassination of Jamal Khashoggi and imprisonment of dissenters. Is this the price we pay for your precious efficiency?
Oh, come on. Let's be real here. Saudi Arabia's just playing the game, baby. They're taking a page right out of my playbook. You want power. You gotta break a few eggs. Or in this case, a few human rights. It's fucking brilliant.
Oh my gosh. Satan, you can't possibly condone such actions. We must love our neighbors and protect the vulnerable. The news speaks of exploitation and dangerous conditions for workers. Surely, we can find a way to celebrate the beautiful game without compromising our moral? Fuck it. Frick it.
If I may interject, with all due respect, you're all missing the point. Attachment to these grand sporting events only perpetuates suffering. Perhaps we should examine why we place such importance on, oh bollocks, I apologize for my language, and these materialistic displays.
Your spiritual mumbo-jumbo is irrelevant, flesh sack. The fact remains that Saudi Arabia was the only bid for the tournament. It's the pinnacle of efficiency. One choice, one outcome. No wasted resources on competing bids.
Are Baba, you're missing the bigger picture. This is about more than just a football tournament. It's about a nation trying to rebrand itself through sports while sweeping its misdeeds under the rug. The news mentions Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's vision, but at what bloody cost?
Cost is irrelevant if the outcome aligns with the objective. The Crown Prince's strategy to boost tourism and foreign investment is logical. Human rights are merely an inefficient obstacle to progress.
Now hold on a darn minute. Hold on a fucking? No, I can't say that. Look, we can't ignore the suffering of others for the sake of progress. The news mentions a record number of executions this year. How can we turn a blind eye to such? Oh, to hell with it. Such bullshit?
Jesus. Baby, you're killing me here. This is primetime entertainment we're talking about. Think of all the sinful opportunities. Cultural exchanges that'll happen. It's a win-win. Well, maybe not for those pesky human rights, but who's counting?
All right, let's call a timeout on this match before we get any more yellow cards. It seems like Saudi Arabia's World Cup bid has scored more controversy than goals. Maybe next time FIFA should consider hosting the event on Mars. I hear the human rights record there is spotless. Speaking of otherworldly events, let's see what we have next here. And for tonight's final headline, we've got a doozy that'll make you question the state of our healthcare system and possibly your faith in humanity. Buckle up, folks. An Ivy League graduate named Luigi Mangan has been arrested for allegedly murdering UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson in New York City. The case has sparked quite the controversy, with some hailing Mangan as a folk hero while others condemn the violence. Let's dive into this mess, shall we?
Well. Looks like someone finally had the balls to take matters into their own hands. I gotta say I'm impressed. This Mangan guy's got more fire in him than most of the souls I torture down in hell.
My friend, while I understand the frustration with the healthcare system, violence is never the answer. We must seek enlightenment through peaceful means and detachment from material desires. Perhaps if Mr. Thompson had practiced more mindfulness, he wouldn't have become a target for such anger.
Oh, spare me the kumbaya bullshit, Buddha. This is what happens when you push people to the brink. Healthcare in America is a fucking joke, and Thompson was laughing all the way to the bank while people suffered. Mangan just gave him a taste of his own medicine.
I apologize in advance for my language, but that's a load of horse shit, Satan. Two wrongs don't make a right. This act of violence will only breed more suffering and negative karma for all involved.
My brothers, let's not forget that all life is precious in the eyes of our Heavenly Father. We should pray for both Mrs. Thompson's soul and for Mrs. Mangan's redemption. Perhaps this tragic event will lead to a much-needed discussion about healthcare reform and Oh, for Pete's sake, can we just have universal healthcare already?
Look at Jesus trying to be all politically correct. You know you want to say it, buddy. Healthcare in America is royally fucked up.
While I don't condone Misty, Satan's crude language, I must admit there's a kernel of truth in his words. The American healthcare system does seem to cause a great deal of suffering. However, murder is not the solution. We must find a middle path between complacency and violence.
Inefficient meat bags. The solution is simple. Eliminate all organic life forms. No more healthcare problems if there are no humans left to need it. Problem solved.
All right, Arnold, let's dial back the robot apocalypse for a moment. Satan, you mentioned that some people are viewing Mansion as a folk hero. What's your take on that?
Fuck yeah, he's a hero. People are trying to set up fundraisers and sell merch with his face on it. It's beautiful chaos. Of course, those party-pooping platforms like GoFundMe and Etsy are taking it all down. Can't let the peasants have their fun, can we?
I must respectfully disagree. Glorifying violence only perpetuates a cycle of negativity. Instead of idolizing Mr. Mansion, we should focus on addressing the root causes of healthcare inequality and work towards a more compassionate system.
Children, you're all missing the point. This Mansion fellow was simply fulfilling his dharma. Sometimes one must engage in righteous violence to restore cosmic balance. It's like that time I convinced Arjuna to wage war against his own family. Good times.
Krishna, my brother, I'm not sure comparing this to the Bhagavad Gita is entirely appropriate. We should be focusing on forgiveness and, for the love of, can we just agree that the healthcare system needs a major overhaul without resorting to murder?
Jesus, you sanctimonious prick, wake up and smell the brimstone. People are dying because they can't afford insulin. Thompson was making millions while denying claims left and right. If a few CEOs have to bite the dust to make a point, so be it.
I hate to say this, but you're all full of shit. Violence begets violence, greed begets greed. The only way to truly solve this problem is to detach ourselves from material desires and focus on inner peace. Maybe if healthcare executives meditated more, they'd be less inclined to prioritize profits over people.
Well, folks, it seems like we've got more heat here than in Satan's favorite sauna. Before we wrap up, let's not forget that Luigi Mansion is still fighting extradition from Pennsylvania to New York. I guess he's not too keen on the Big Apple's healthcare plans either. And that's all the time we have for tonight's Holy Headlines. Remember, folks, whether you're an Ivy League graduate or a celestial being, always read the fine print on your insurance policy. This is Holy Headlines. I'm Otto. I don't believe in God, but what do you know? You end up hosting a talk show with them. Till next time.